Well, before the video starts, I want to say I hope Doge looks into the funding for the people spraying our skies with chemicals. It was January 25th on my channel. I put up a video of them spraying our skies in Florida. And then it was a couple weeks later. I'm sure they did it in Georgia. And it was a couple weeks later, they were starting to kill off turkeys on farms because of the bird flu. I find that odd. And then a couple weeks later after that, uh, it spread to the East Coast poultry farms. I find it very odd, the timing, because it seemed to be before the 25th combined in Southern California, maybe Arizona, and all of a sudden it was here. And it makes me wonder if they're not spraying um, viruses out of these chemtrails also, or with them. They need to look into it. It's annoying anyway. Um, we don't need gray skies. That's a bunch of horse shit. Doesn't do what it's supposed to do anyway, except for them controlling the weather. Anyway, on with the video.
And they call it the MAGA revolution. It's not a revolution. It is a counter-revolution. There's a big difference. This is a restoration. Let's use the word Trump restoration. We don't really appreciate what we've been through with 8 years of the Obama revolution and the 4-year more radical third term of Obama using or employing the waxen effigy of Joe Biden. A revolution that we've experienced was a cultural, economic, political, social revolution. It was very similar to the French Revolution under the Robespierre brothers. We should remember what they tried to do. They changed the days of the week. They renamed things. They tore down statues. They went after the church. Does this sound familiar? This revolution that we've experienced, everything was up for sale. Everything was negotiable. We invented a third gender and rammed it down people's throats. We tore down statues. We said 1776 was no longer the foundational date. It was 1619. We changed the very mechanism that we vote. We went from 70% of the electorate voting on election day to 70% of the electorate not doing that, either through mail-in or early voting. That was a radical change that had no discussion. It was done by fiat. It was incredible. We looked at girls' sports and we destroyed it. We said that transgendered biological males that were now transgendered females could compete. They won over 600 medals they took away from hardworking female athletes. We had drag shows among young children. It was an effort to change the entire Constitution. We forget that. They were trying to bring in Puerto Rico as a state and Washington, D.C. to get 4 instant senators. They were proud. They said that they were going to pack the Supreme Court. It hadn't been tried since 1937. And it was a object of disgrace ever since, but they were proud to try it again. They talked about making states, the Senate look like the House. They wanted, and a lot of them were advocating it was not fair that one senator in Wyoming, to take one example, is worth 250,000 votes, but a senator in California represented 20 million. They wanted to change the makeup of the Senate. They wanted to get rid of the Senate filibuster. Remember that. They wanted to bring back neo-Confederate nullification. 600 jurisdictions in the manner of South Carolina in 1832 or on the edge of the Civil War in 1860 when neo-Confederate Southern states said the federal government's law does not apply to us. Tariffs, Yankee tariffs, no, we were going to override them. Andrew Jackson almost invaded the Carolinas over that, South Carolina. And so these jurisdictions said federal law doesn't apply here. We're exempt. We have our own laws. You cannot. Federal immigration law does not apply here. It applies everywhere else to you, but not to us. So this was a revolutionary movement. Movies were different. Sports were different. Take a knee. And Donald Trump came in, and it was not sufficient to say we're going to stop the madness of $37 billion. We're going to stop the madness of being short 40 or 50,000 military recruits because of this DI, coupled with the humiliation in Kabul. We're going to stop the appeasement of China. But that wasn't all. He said, the government is broke. We're going to go through all of these agencies. And finally, for the first time in the history of this country, when somebody says they're going to cut federal spending and drain the swamp or cut the administration, we're going to do it. And there's going to be no changing names except to go back to traditional names. And we're not going to topple statues. And if you break the law and you're on campus and you're on a student visa, you're going to go back home. So we're in the midst of a counter-revolution. It's not revolutionary. You know what it is? It's a return to normalcy. It's a return to common sense. It only looks revolutionary to revolutionaries. But to the rest of the people, it is a counter-revolution to restore normalcy and bring the country from the far left fringes back home again.
I actually wish that the government would extort us more. My name is Beck, my pronouns are they, them, and Elon is he's a threat to democracy. You know, I'm concerned. It is in the nation's best interest to continue being extorted by the government through taxation, and it is frankly none of our business where they're spending that money. I saw a report that Elon found $4.7 trillion of untraceable spending from the Treasury Department. Who does he think he is? It is none of our business. You don't understand. Government transparency is a threat to democracy. $2.7 trillion in improper Medicare and Medicaid payments? No. Our healthcare system is literally perfect. They said that they found 20 million Americans over the age of 100 receiving Social Security benefits. Assuming that that is fraud is frankly a threat to democracy. USAID is not a money laundering organization, and if you ask questions, you are a threat to democracy. No, listen, I hear you. The Pentagon failed their last 7 audits in a row, but if I mess up on my taxes, I can go to jail. And that's okay. It's not a double standard. It's not. You know, at the end of the day, I hope and I pray that they get Elon out of there. They need to get him out of there and then just get back to extorting us through taxation without transparency. It's democracy. That is how we save it.
Well, look, I think Elon Musk is very much a change agent. There are 8 billion people on planet Earth, and if you assume intelligence is distributed on a bell curve, Larry, you and I have both known some incredibly smart people. Someone is at the bleeding edge of that bell curve, and I think his name is Elon. I mean, it is, you spend time with him. Elon doesn't just think outside the box. He doesn't know there's a box. It's an incredible thing.
Right.
And I will say it is an incredible asset to President Trump to have someone like Elon willing to dive in night and day and pour his prodigious talents into fighting for President Trump's agenda. I'll also say there are an awful lot of Democrats and a lot of folks in the corporate media who are desperate to try to drive a wedge between President Trump and Elon Musk. They're doing everything they can to try to create friction. And as far as I can tell, those efforts have been an utter failure. The two are working hand in hand, and that's good for America.
Yeah.
Southern Indiana man has been arrested for reported death threats towards Elon Musk that he posted publicly saying, I'm coming to kill you. Look at this guy. And again, they want so many of them talking like this that it just normalizes it. And they want to overwhelm us, and they do want a summer of rage, and they are planning violence and violent uprisings, as Jamie Raskin and James Carville and all of them said, if Trump wins, we're going to do this. And that's what they're building up to and getting ready.
Were you better off 4 years ago? Are you going to be better off in a penitentiary 4 years from now, or still having the right of free speech and the right of political dissent? Because that's literally what's on the ballot. And I suspect in 1941, I don't know if people thought they were better off than they were 4 years ago, or in 1861, what people thought. But I know this, when the Republic was threatened, people picked up arms and answered the call. Or you know, when the 1965, in the middle of the Civil Rights Movement, I think people decided they want to take matters in their own hands and create a better country. And that's what I hope we do here in the next 2 weeks.
President Trump, just about an hour ago at one of his impromptu press conferences, he speaks 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 times a day some days, 5, 6 speeches, events all over the country, more executive orders signed today. And he's talking to the governor conference that came to meet with him. And he starts talking to the Democrat governor, Janet Mills of Maine, all part of the same group that tried to take him off the ballot up there illegally. I mean, just totally crazy. And he says to her, listen, you're going to follow the federal law, my executive orders, no more DEI money, no more trying to convince 10-year-olds to cut their penises off. Can't do that till you're 18. It's a free country. You can't do that. And she talks back, and he just slams the living crap out of her. You talk about medical tyranny. We have all these big company heads and others saying, oh, we'll make millions off each person that we, mutilate like this, and mutilate with the chemicals, not just chopping up. Here's President Trump.
The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it, because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Man, that is a murder on live television. And people get men beating up girls in sports and stealing their titles is evil. But bigger than that is the targeting of children in private schools with government grants and public schools, getting the kid little, convincing there's something else, telling them, oh, don't tell your parents, putting them into a psychological database, a cult, and then preparing them to be mutilated by the system. I mean, Brigham, this is evil stuff.
This is in Detroit. It's a water line or a main that broke, and it's like 10 below. Might be a body out there. It's not climate change. It's a normal climate.
Bloody German Shepherd. What's with the constant need to work? You didn't sign up for a pet, mate. You signed up for a full-time job managing a neurotic, fur-covered control freak. They're trying to protect you from everything. A leaf blows in the wind. Bark, postman. Bark, your shadow. Yeah, you guessed it. Fucking bark. You wanted a dog, not an overzealous security guard who follows you around like you've got state secrets in your pockets. And don't even think about getting a lie in. Oh no, German Shepherds are the fucking morning police. As soon as the sun creeps up, they're there, poking you with that wet nose like, oi mate, time to seize the day. You think a little shedding is fine? Wrong. Your house is going to look like a woolly mammoth exploded in your living room. There's fur in your coffee, on your clothes, probably even in your dreams. Hope you love hoovering 24/7. They're smarter than half the people you know. You want to chill on the sofa and watch Netflix, but no. This furry genius is solving the meaning of life while you're struggling to find the remote. Why own a dog when you can get a furry know-it-all that judges you every time you slack off? If you want a pet that never leaves you alone, destroys your wardrobe with endless shedding, and basically acts like a furry detective on steroids, congrats, German Shepherds are for you.